Good day everyone, my name is Christine Dorothy Lucille Pitong and I am from Section Love, and today I will be discussing the different types of information disorder, specifically misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. And then I will also discuss the 7 forms of fake or misleading content that we commonly see online. And then I will provide examples for each and explain the techniques that I use to fact check and verify the information that we will see later on as we delve deeper into my topic, and that is also where I will provide my examples later on. So first, let's start off with the objectives of my presentation. So first is to differentiate the 3 categories of information disorder, being misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. And then I will also discuss the 7 types of information disorder. And then I will analyze the examples of fake or misleading content and in which category it falls under. And then I will also evaluate the credibility of the post and then demonstrate the techniques used in fact-checking. So we can simply begin by asking, what is fake news? Fake news refers to the misleading contents or manipulated content that is presented as legitimate news. In the Philippine context, fake news commonly spreads through social media platforms such as Facebook, TikTok, and then YouTube. Because many people rely heavily on social media for news and information, misleading posts can spread very quickly, especially when people share the content immediately without being critical enough. And fake news can also influence public opinion, create confusion, and damage the reputations of others, or even affect political and societal issues. So first, let's discuss the 3 categories of information disorder. Information disorder is divided into misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. These categories differ mainly in accuracy and intent. So let's first start with misinformation. These are false information shared without the intent to deceive others. Basically, this is the kind of fake news that people may accidentally share when they are not careful enough in verifying information. It spreads quickly and quietly like a virus because many individuals immediately repost content without fact-checking it first or verifying the post first or being critical, so making others a victim of false information as well. So next is disinformation. This is the false information with the intent to deceive others. Unlike misinformation, the person spreading it usually knows that the information is false. This is also commonly used for, let's say, political propaganda, edited media, or fabricated stories designed to influence public opinion. And lastly, malinformation. This refers to the real or personal information that is used maliciously to harm others. The information itself may be true, but it is shared in a harmful way or in a misleading way, or the context is misleading. The information itself is true, but the way it is shared is deceitful or deceiving because it is shared misleadingly. Examples include leaking private conversations, sharing out of context videos, or reposting old issues to damage someone's reputation. Now, before discussing the 7 forms of information disorder, it is first important to understand the techniques used in identifying misleading or false information online, because these methods help us become more responsible and critical users of media and information. So the first technique is reverse image search. This is when you check the original source of an image using the Google Lens feature. This allows us to trace the original source of an image and determine whether it has been edited, reused, and presented in a misleading way. This is especially useful in detecting false context or manipulated content online. Secondly is cross-checking sources. This means to compare the sketchy information from reliable sources. So this is where we compare the information from several reliable websites, news outlets, or verified organizations to confirm whether a claim is accurate and consistent. If only one questionable source reports information, it may not be trustworthy as you think it is. Another important technique is checking the dates of when a content has been published or being published, because some people may repost old articles, videos, or photos and present them as recent event, which can mislead the audience, which creates misleading context or false context. And then verifying the publication dates helps us understand whether the information is still relevant or already outdated. So the next one is to read beyond the headlines. This is when you read the full context, not just the title, because many headlines are designed to attract attention and may exaggerate or distort the actual content. So reading the entire article gives us a clearer and more complete understanding of the issue. Next is to verify the authors or pages. This is when we check if the source is credible and trustworthy. It is important that we check whether the author or website or social media page is credible and trustworthy enough. Reliable sources usually provide accurate information, while fake pages often spread misinformation. A good example of trusted organizations or pages is the ABS-CBN page, the original one. And next is to analyze the language used. This is when we identify words or phrases that are designed to provoke fear, anger, or strong emotions that may grab the reader's attention. So recognizing this kind of language helps us think more objectively and avoid reacting impulsively. So an example is this kinds of headlines, breaking news. Next is to check the context or the full context, meaning we examine the full background of the information, because photos, videos, or quotes can become misleading when removed from their original situation or background. So understanding the full context helps us prevent misunderstanding and misinterpretation of the information. And lastly, we utilize fact-checking websites. And when I say fact-checking websites, those websites that are trusted or verified enough, because these platforms are used to investigate viral claims and provide evidence to determine whether the information is true, false, or misleading. So fact-checking websites are useful tools in fighting misinformation and disinformation online. So an example of this is the Rappler fact-checking site, the Philstar, and the AFP fact-checking site. So now we can proceed to the 7 types of information disorder. So aside from the 3 categories, fake news can also be classified into 7 forms of information disorder. And this forms helps us better identify how online content becomes misleading. So the first one is satire or parody, which falls under satire or parody is when a post uses humor, exaggeration, or comedy to mock people or situations. An example of this is a meme appearing that Antonio Trinalias is chasing Senator De La Rosa or Bato De La Rosa with a warrant of arrest, while Senator De La Rosa is portrayed saying, "Joke lang yun o lol." And many people who are unfamiliar with the full political context may mistakenly believe that these statements were actually said by the senators. And this demonstrates how satire can sometimes contribute to misinformation when the audience fail to recognize the humorous intent behind this post. This can be identified as satire because it uses exaggerated language, edited image, or unrealistic image, and the humorous tone to mock the individuals involved. And to verify this post, I analyze the image for authenticity, check if the statements were officially reported by credible news, and upon checking it, I did not see this exact statements being said, although it gives off the same idea, but they did not really say what this meme is trying to show us, because of course this is there is humorous intent behind this post. And examine the overall tone and presentation of the content. So as you can clearly tell, it is satire. So the next one is clickbait. This is when a post uses misleading headlines just to grab the audience's attention. And an example of this is an FB post claiming to contain a viral sex video. This post is an example of false connection or clickbait because the headline and thumbnail were designed to attract attention using shocking and misleading wording. The phrase viral sex video and the blurred image creates the impression that explicit content involving the individuals that is involved here in this image. However, the actual content does not actually match what the headlines strongly suggest. And there is also a suspicious website source. As you can see, I can't pronounce it, but Matindito, I can't really pronounce it, but this is the site that is suspicious. And This type of post manipulates people's curiosity and emotions just to gain clicks, reactions, and shares. And many people, many users may immediately believe or open the link because of the sensationalized language and provocative presentation. And we can identify this as clickbait. As I said before, it uses exaggerated language or sexualized language, blurred image, and a suspicious website source. To verify the post, I analyze whether the headline matched the content, and I also checked reliable fact-checking sources such as AFP fact-checking website that also debunked this clickbait. As you can see, no, this is not a viral sex video of a Philippine game show contestant. It's clickbait and the footage is not explicit. So yeah, this is where we can verify that this is just clickbait and not really true information about this this actress or actors actually had a viral sex video. And the next one is fabricated content that also falls under misinformation. So, fabricated content is the information that are 100% false or entirely made up. An example of this is an AI-generated news claiming that cell phones are gonna be banned from the Philippines. And this image right here, or this screenshot right here, is actually just a shared post I stumbled upon that's actually just from one of my mutuals in FB as I scrolled through my feed like I normally would. And this is what the content, this is the video. I will show it to you.
Sa lahat na ban na o bawal na ang cellphone at paggamit nito sa buong bansa simula April 15. Ang lalabag ay may multa at pwedeng makulong. Tingnan nyo sa post namin ang mga dahilan at mga uri ng cellphone na e-ban din.
So as you can see, I can tell that it is AI generated because the voice does not match when the reporter opens her mouth. It's kind of delayed, and the background is not from a reliable organization. So yeah, I also reversed image search, you can see. So I uploaded the file from that post and copy and pasted it in Google Lens, and as you can see right here, so when I use the reverse image search,
nito sa buong
you
bansa
can
simula April 15.
see that
Ang lalabag
I
ay may
saw a
multa
lot
at
of
pwedeng makulong. Tingnan
people
nyo sa
who
post namin ang mga dahilan at mga uri ng
victims
cellphone
or
na e-ban
believe
din.
this false
Paalala sa
information.
lahat na ban na o bawal na.
So yeah, it's really sad that they became victims of this misinformation. So another post, another person shared it.
Ito sa buong Pilipinas simula April 1. Ang sinumang lumabag ay magmumulta at posibleng makulong. Tingnan nyo sa puat namin ang mga dahilan.
But there are also some people that said that it is clearly AI some people not easily believing it because it seemed to fake. And you can observe right here that this post is likely AI generated because it follows the same script, generated the same news reporter, placed in different sides. So from the previous sharer, the news reporter was in this side, and now from this sharer, the news reporter that is AI generated is on the left side. And the news itself was not shared by reliable or legitimate sources. Then I also check reliable fact-checking sites such as Rappler. Rappler has already debunked this claim as well, that this is just fabricated content and not real. So the next one is imposter content, which falls under disinformation. Imposter content is when someone pretends to be a trusted person or organizations to make false content appear credible or legitimate. So this is an example, pretending to be a legitimate news organization. So as you can see, it used the ABS-CBN logo. So yeah. So this is imposter content because it pretended to be posted by the ABS-CBN organization, and which is not really announced by the ABS-CBN organization. And the red flags that help me spot it is that the post comes from suspicious website URL such as this websites, pilipro.shop, hlthshop.club. So it's kind of suspicious. The website domain is not the official ABS-CBN website. These are unfamiliar domains. Imitated layout, as you can see right here, it completely copied how ABS-CBN would, would lay out it, and sensationalized claims. The article used exaggerated health claims and miracle cure language that sounded quite unrealistic, and there is also no credible medical evidence. The article lacked reliable sources, official medical reports or studies, or expert in verification, and it is not reported by legitimate news outlets when cross-checking the claim through trusted news organizations and fact-checking websites. Then lastly, I tried reverse image searching it. So I'll show you. So what I did is I did the same thing as what I have done for clickbait. So you're just adjusting the image. So as you can see right here, it has already been fact checked as well. So as you can see here, it led me to the official announcement from ABS-CBN, the legitimate page that debunked the fake news, stating that they never made such quotes or post about a cure for diabetes. So yeah. The next one is manipulated content, which also falls under disinformation. So manipulated content is or are information that has been altered to deceive or mislead an audience. An example of this would be a quote card, alleged statement from Lord and so on, saying that saludo ako sa ipinapakitang kabayanihan ni Ramil Madriaga, walang takot niyang ibinulgar ang baho ng ating Vice President. So the red flags that help me spot it is the language used, such as breaking news, walang takot niyang ibinulgar ang baho ng ating VP. So, in breaking news, it uses all caps headline which easily grabs the audience's attention as they scroll through social media or Facebook, and this may pressure the readers into reacting immediately without critically analyzing the information, and it also creates a sense of authority as it makes an information seem urgent, important, or official. And this phrase uses emotional language that may influence readers' feelings instead of presenting neutral information. As you can see right here, this statement provokes various emotions that could provoke both anti-Sarah or pro-Sarah as shown in the post. It seems like Lordan Suwan is actually attacking Sarah when in fact he never did. And another red flag that I noticed is that there is no date under the quotation as to when Lordan Suwan uttered such statements. Looking at the post, it is clear that there is none provided. There's no dates. See? And one possible reason we can presume is that they might have excluded the dates so that it won't get easily fact-checked by critical thinkers who analyze it, or easily fact-checked by sites. And there is also no source or reference about where the quote is gotten from. And I also did a cross-verification, looking up or checking Lord and Suwan's verified accounts, and there is no statements that match the actual fake news. And although he shared that the fake news and said he never said such sentiments, and the page itself is not a reliable source, as you can see. Rappler also has fact check an older post published by the same page showing a quote card with an alleged statement that Lord and Suwan is disappointed with the OFWs who participate in the Zero Remittance Week, saying that they don't deserve to be called modern day heroes. And this post was also debunked by the CDO representative Lord and Suwan himself, stating that he had never said what the post shows. So the next one is false content, which falls under malinformation. False context is when the post or the fake news uses real information placed in the wrong time or situation. An example of this is an old photo of Rodrigo Duterte and Ronald De La Rosa reposted online, misrepresented as a recent meeting in The Hague in the ICC. And when I reverse image search it, many people online believe that the image was recent and connected to the current political events. However, after fact-checking, I discovered that the photo was actually old and originally uploaded years earlier. As you can see here, as I did the reverse image search once again. Oh, hold on. I'm just gonna fast forward this. So as you can see, this photo was actually taken back in December 7, 2022, and this is considered false context because the image itself was genuine, but it was reposted online with a misleading context. And this was reposted on the 29th of May 2025, saying that Tatay Digong and Senator Bato nagkita sila sa Hague, which is not true. And this demonstrates that why checking dates and original uploads and credible sources is important before believing or sharing something online. And lastly, I think this is the last one. This is misleading content, which also falls under malinformation. Misleading content is real information presented in a deceptive way. So, digitally added militant flags into the real photo related to the victims of Negros incident. So, the digitally added militant flags are added to make it appear that the people in the photo were connected to armed rebel groups, and this is misleading content because a genuine photo was altered to change how viewers interpreted it. So the first thing I did to verify the image was compare the altered post to the original image. So after comparing the two images, I noticed that the flag shown in the viral post was not present in the original version. As you can see right here, there is a big difference. There's no flags here. This is the original post, and this is the edited one. Then I also looked for inconsistencies or edits. As you can see, some parts of the inserted flags appeared unnatural compared to the lighting, angle, and quality of the original image, which suggested that the image may have been digitally manipulated. I mean, there is no changes in the angle, but yeah, they just added these flags, which seems really unnatural because there's no one holding the flags. As you can see, it's just floating. Then I also checked the reliability of the page. The page had around 11k followers, but then it only have 2 reviews, and both reviews did not recommend the page, and this raised my doubt about the page's credibility and trustworthiness. And yeah, and upon comparing the original image, analyzing the possible edits, I concluded that the post was misleading and intended to influence how viewers interpret the incident. So, in conclusion, fake news spreads easily in today's environment, especially through social media, and we use social media a lot for entertainment, for news, for political updates and such, and any of us can be a victim if we are not critical enough to verify the post by analyzing and evaluating the information first, by referring to other sources, reliable sources, and so on. So, understanding misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation helps us become more responsible and critical users of information. So, with that in mind, before sharing a content we stumble upon online, we should always verify sources, analyze context, and fact-check claims to prevent the spread of misleading information. And let us not forget to utilize the techniques that I have discussed earlier when we are verifying a post. And one thing I will leave you with is to not take everything immediately, to not believe information immediately when we stumble upon a sketchy or too good to be true information, because sometimes it could be fake news. So yeah, that is all for my presentation, and I thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something from this video. Thank you.